This channel is supported by Truefire. Truefire is an online library of
enough. You can get the Truefire All Access Pass for as cheap as they ever do it, the $99 thing. So just jump and do that if you're looking for the best price that you can get Truefire All Access for. The more I think about kind of what Fender are doing in the Strat realm across kind of all of their guitars, the more I think that the Vintera 2 actually I think is the best Fender bang for buck guitar that they make, and I can't really think of anything else which really fits the bill. Maybe a Roadworn, Vintera Roadworn, but those now I think are a little bit more expensive. But anyway, I wanted to do a little video on that and just experiment playing this into Helix Native for a bit, and then we'll get on to talking about it. So I went on to Anderton's and I filtered Fender guitars, Strats from £500 to £2,000. Now I was immediately blown away by just how many guitars they make in this price range. Like, there's a lot. But I was also kind of blown away by how many of those guitars I kind of know now after buying like 3 or 4 in the space of a couple of months, that really this is the one that works for me best out of all of them. There are a couple of guitars that I thought stood out as being potentially interesting. So there's the Roadworn Mike McCready, which is like 1,500 quid I think at the moment. Now that is like a 60s Strat, but I think the neck is, they call it a Slim C, so I wonder if that would be quite a skinny feeling neck. I know my buddy Jason does have one, he loves it. He's also got custom shops and stuff like that and K-lines, so it must be a pretty good guitar, that one. The other thing is that Anderton's do these limited editions, and I think GAC did some as well, RIP. So I presume maybe Gear for Music have some of those now. I'll check in on that. But I think they did it like a limited run of basically Roadworn Vinteras with a nitro finish. But they were essentially not really Roadworn, it's just nitro that eventually will become that. And Justin, you've got one of those. As I say, I think Gear for Music bought GAC, or what was remained of GAC, so maybe there's going to be a bunch of them flooding the market. But the other guitars that I think are really, really good bang for buck in this vein, really, the Fender Roadworn 60s, which I think are now discontinued, but the ones before they went to Parifera are really, really nice. But anyway, so what I'm looking for from a Strat is something a bit more vintage focused. So 6-point trems for me seem to be what I like best. Don't know exactly why, I don't know if there's any science to it, but for me it just seems to look right, and then they also sit like a little bit closer to the body. The other thing I look for often would be the vintage radius. I actually find that really comfortable. Then the really crucial ingredient for me is that I want a neck that's not too skinny. So the Player 2, absolutely amazing guitar for the money, a couple £100 cheaper than the Vintera 2, but actually the neck for me is just shy of being like in that sort of Goldilocks area for me, where the Vintera, this 60s neck, is just like an amazing feeling neck car for me. Just feels like I would want a custom shop, any neck to feel it's just right there. So that's what's important to me, as well as, you know, pickups and that sort of thing can be changed out. The other thing I'd be looking for each time I felt a Fender neck is just to, like, what is the situation on the frets? Like, is there anything sticking out? Does it feel sharp? Because sometimes things slip through the QC net. And there's something of the Fender tax here that you're paying, but I do think it's quite a pretty guitar, quite a dark and pretty piece of rosewood on the neck, which I think is one of those things that the Pal Ferro has looked so dry for so many years that it's just refreshing to see a Mexican Strat looking like this rich. I think that's the word for it, like a rich, darker rosewood tone. Like, that's darker than most of my K-line boards. It's beautiful. The body itself, a beautiful Lake Placid blue, which I think is one of the best colours that Fender have ever really done on a Strat. There's really no flaws on the guitar from head to toe. Like, it's a cleaner build than the American Vintage 2 that Fender actually sent me a couple of years back when that was launched. The one area that could use some work, I think, the fretboard, sorry, the frets, they're not bad. But that is maybe where you notice sort of the difference between this and something with a bit more time spent on it in terms of personnel rolling that fretboard. It's, I think, could use a little bit of rolling, and also like the very fret edges could be ever so slightly improved. Hardware, plastics look good, contours are good, a really comfortable C-neck. It's just an overall very impressive guitar. But the pickups on here, I wouldn't immediately want to upgrade. Like, they sound pretty good, in my opinion. Let's go middle. Shall we do it? Second. Wait, that's fourth. Neck. Second. And full bridge. Maybe might be my one criticism is that like the typical Fender thing to do is to go that these would all be the same output, which I think is partly why you get like a little bit more ice picky in a Strat, whereas something like a set of Lola Dirty Blondes, you overwind this one so that you get a bit of a hotter pickup. do the test. I think there's something really cool about these specs. This is a 2023 model, I think. Obviously they're made in Mexico. The only little maybe downside that I have with these guitars is that they're poly, so these guitars are not necessarily like, I could absolutely see this being a guitar that would get played for ages and ages and ages. And something I think is quite attractive about a guitar that you do play for ages is that if it's nitro, it sort of ages with you and shows some of that wear, which is the one downside I think with a poly guitar, which is that it doesn't quite do that same thing, which I think there's nothing really more beautiful than a guitar that has kind of shown its journey. I guess that's what that journeyman thing is even about, but that's, to me, the one thing. And I guess you can even solve that, can't you, by spending a little bit extra to get a nitro finish, in which case those guitars are going to show some of the battle scars a little bit more than these poly ones, which no doubt these look like a fantastic new guitar, but you know, 10 years down the line, do you still want it to be looking kind of pristine and new? Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, I'll catch you in another video soon. Let me know in the comments if you've got a favourite guitar in this price range that Fender make. Cheers for stopping by.